All right, welcome back, everybody. Hopefully you had a brownie, you've networked, you've forged a partnership, and you are ready to hear from our final members of the Innovation Showcase. This last session is all about lifelong learning. And as my one-year-old son says about lifelong learning, duck. The only word he knows how to say is duck. Our first presenter is actually a team. We'll be hearing from Bunker Labs and Dr. Raul Deju, and I have to give Bunker Labs' Blake Hogan a great shout out for winning yesterday's long drive competition at golf. So way to go, Blake. All right, we'd love to hear more about what you're doing together. Take it away.
All right, well, good afternoon. My name is Blake Hogan. I'm the CEO of Bunker Labs. So Bunker Labs is a national nonprofit where we work to inspire, equip, and connect veterans and military spouses to launch and grow businesses. So imagine this. So every year, 250,000 service members will leave active duty service. About a quarter of them want to start a business, and less than 5% actually do. So imagine about 60,000 troops amassed on a border, ready to deploy. But this time they're not wanting to deploy into battle, they want to go start a business. So the pent-up economic activity that you have in our American military is ready to go take, their new form of service, which we call entrepreneurship as a second form of service. But there's three barriers to this. And they're very solvable. Number one, it's financial networks. Number two, it's knowledge networks. And number three, it's professional networks just like yourselves. So in World War II, you had 16 million veterans, and almost half of them went on to go own or operate a business. So if I wanted to go into private equity, I would have run into Dr. Deju at the American Legion. We would have had a beer, maybe whiskey, and we would have talked about private equity. And we would have that built-in network. Today, less than 1% of the military, or less than 1% of our US population serves in the military. So even a Marine, I can figure out that math, that we don't have the density to be able to build those strong networks. But these problems are really solvable. So here's what we do. So Bunker Labs runs programs in 40 cities around the country. The idea is really straightforward. If we get small groups of leaders in a room, and we rally business leaders, civic leaders, education leaders, folks from the capital communities around them, that we can launch and grow the next greatest generation. So we do that with three programs. So Veterans and Residents is our early stage, 6-month incubator. So right now, today, in 25 cities across the country, 241 entrepreneurs gathered in small groups of 10 to say, what do you need to be able to get to the next level? Our CEO Circle is a partnership with JPMorgan Chase. So these are industry-based entrepreneurs. They're later stage, about $5 million in revenue or more. And they're in tech and manufacturing and a big government contractor. So just those two programs alone represent over $1 billion in revenue. They've raised over $400 million in capital, and they've created over 5,000 jobs. And that third program is our ambassadors. So when I saw the group that was doing the ecosystem mapping, I started to nerd out a little bit because the ambassadors are a 12-month fellowship. So what we're doing right there is quite literally creating America's entrepreneur core. So tomorrow I'll be in Austin, Texas with 80 leaders from 40 cities who are focused on doing one thing, connecting dots for entrepreneurs. So those entrepreneurs adopt their Veterans and Residents cohort, they facilitate their huddles, and they get them connected to business leaders. But they have to start somewhere before they get that. And that's why I'm so excited to be here today, learning from all of you. So we have 2 places for folks to start. One is our Bunker Online community. So any of you could go on to Bunker Online right now, and you could go and you could take Dr. Deju's course, which is hosted with support from Curriki. You could take a number of other open source courses, and you could connect with somebody in your industry, or somebody in your stage, or somebody in your city. So if you're a business leader or an education leader and you're going back to San Diego or Columbus, Ohio or Washington, D.C., I want you to go there and connect with an entrepreneur. And then lastly is our breaking barriers in entrepreneurship. So we know that there are real barriers that exist in this country, and we know that our military entrepreneurs are ready to break through any of those. So what we do there is 8-week sprints with entrepreneurs who are historically underrepresented. So we're bringing financial capital, resources, and mentors to quickly transition from military, from your current career, so that you can see entrepreneurship as a viable career path. You know, we say all the time that people will be what they can see. So we have a simple mission. It's to create the next greatest generation of entrepreneurs. And we're going to do it because we're able to surround ourselves with smart people like yourselves. So I want to thank the Curriki team. I want to thank Dr. Deju, the Institute of Entrepreneurial Leadership, because yesterday, those 241 entrepreneurs were able to go online, they were able to click that, and in Nashville, and San Diego, and Austin, and Dallas, and Houston, they were able to pull this down and walk through these modules and build their businesses together. So my call to action to all of you is to continue to innovate and to continue to do what you're doing, and go to bunkerlabs.org and help us rally business leaders and civic leaders and education leaders around the next generation of military entrepreneurs. And thank you to Raul for making all of this possible so that we can take all of the lessons and experience that you've had and deploy that into the hands of these entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Blake. You know, a number of years back, I was teaching entrepreneurship in a number of universities, including UC Berkeley, St. Mary's College, and we had a program to hit entrepreneurs to learn the art of entrepreneurship. And I have to tell you, that was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. But we try to do this without technology. And so we graduated over 250 entrepreneurs over about a 3-year period of time. And we said, and by the way, those entrepreneurs today have over $3.5 billion in annual sales. Over 200 companies were formed. 3 of them are over $1 billion in annual sales. 2 of the 3 are minority owned. And we said, there's got to be something better than just putting all this on a blackboard. So we started by looking at what is the audience that we're hitting. And we've got to go back to a definition of entrepreneurship. And you know, these are people that start a business because their creativity doesn't fit the corporate environment. They got new ideas, they're passionate, and they want to start a business. And so how do we get that group of people to listen? So we created a program that is absolutely 100% free. In fact, we now have programs in 52 universities. And they not only get free program, they get mentoring from entrepreneurs, from people that have done it. And simple to get, it's at Curriki. Curriki people developed a lot of the technology that went into these programs. And I'll show you that in a minute. But it's also available on a website of its own that Curriki built, and it's simple. It's dejucourse.com. And you can get this whether you're in China, or you're in America, or you're down the street. That's the program. Now let me tell you a little bit about the program that's different. There's a lot of educational programs done by people who have learned the academics. This course starts with principles. If people don't have principles, they don't belong in entrepreneurship. And so we got Tony Robbins and Gary Hamel, who wrote What Matters Now, to collaborate. And some of the lectures are done by them. We have a module on blue ocean strategy. And again, W. Chan Kim, who created the book Blue Ocean Shift and Blue Ocean Strategy, is involved in it. So you're not getting lectures from a college professor, nothing against college professors, but you're getting lectures from somebody that created these things also. Module 3 is how to write a business plan. And we actually grabbed one of the early business plans that we have on the record, which is Steve Jobs, when he was looking for money. And we have a good one and a bad one. And then you can click and do your business plan in there and send it to somebody. So the idea is being interactive. And I have to say, Caroline and Abby and the rest of them did a wonderful job making this interesting and interactive so people could go through it. How to build your dream team. Well, we got the archives from Steve Jobs, but we got some other real ones. How do you create product excellence? Well, what about Amazon? We got Jeff Bezos lecturing. We got Bill Marriott lecturing on service. So what people are getting is real life examples of people that succeeded. And last but not least, we teach them how to develop a financial plan and how to raise money. One of the guys that's raised the most money for his businesses is Mr. Elon Musk. Well, he's going to tell you how he did it. So the idea here was to get a variety of things to give people a sense that yes, indeed, you can do it. And we started this with a group of veterans. And that is the part that we're most proud of. We work with Blake and his people, but we also work with companies that supported these veterans. We've supported hundreds of veterans. And we said, you know, we're going to put this online because there's too many of them. And we've had over 100,000 users. And let me show you a couple of veterans. Phyllis Newhouse, African American, 12 sisters and brothers, rural Georgia. Not an officer. She was a sergeant when she retired. But look at what she's done. She's founded a company called Shoulder Up Technology. It's a SPAC, $1 billion in size, for somebody that was a scaredy cat all her life. She started the companies that you see in the bottom, Extreme Solutions, Athena, Heliogen, Shoulder Up. Those companies are worth $3 billion. She is the first African American woman to ring the bell to the New York Stock Exchange. And to accomplish that and be still one of the most civilized human beings, it's great. And we're very proud of her. Now the other one is an interesting story. Tom Dyerland was a student of mine that was shot in Iraq. And he wasn't going to walk. Tom built a company, has over 1,000 employees now, and has done several $1 billion of work. So we hope that this course will benefit not just veterans, but everyone that wants to be an entrepreneur. And we have worked with others to create scholarships, to create mentorships, and to create investment capital for these companies. So, go get it.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Next up, we're going to be hearing from LearningSpots. Let's give it up for LearningSpots.
Hi everybody. I'd really like you to visualize with me for just a moment. A child that lives in a remote location. This child doesn't have power. This child doesn't have access to the internet. Doesn't have access to a nearby school. And lives in a family that's financially challenged. Yet imagine this same child can have an online education experience without actually being connected to the internet, no matter where this child is living. Now, I know that what I had you visualize is an extreme example. But what I am here to present is a practical and complete solution that enables access to online education to any point on the globe where the internet is not available, affordable, or reliable. We call this solution LearningSpots. So let's take a quick look at where we are here in the US. The USA seems to be steaming ahead with great adoption of technology to support education. As the numbers on the screen reflect, this adoption is effective, is growing, and it even appears that the younger children are the greatest beneficiaries. Although these USA numbers are impressive, there are still a bunch of problem areas within the US. However, the digital divide is more relevant elsewhere in the world. Some of the numbers that you'll see here on the screen are just hard to believe. The one statistic I would like to highlight is the 263 million students worldwide that have no access to any type of education. That the digital divide around the world is still in this dire situation, it just baffles me. It's really unexcusable. When I look at these numbers, I just ask myself, how is it that these children living in these parts of the world are ever going to keep up with the world they live in? So noteworthy efforts in the past attempted to resolve specific problems of the digital divide, such as laptops for all, or internet for all. LearningSpots can deliver today because content creation tools exist. Because edge content hardware exists, satellite with return connectivity exists, and affordable smart devices exist. There is a great need. So, we can't do it alone, but we can do it with partners. We can fill the need. So, with the partners on the screen, we are really happy to meet Kariki, because with Kariki, teachers in education technologies anywhere in the world can create once and publish anywhere. And today they are publishing to different types of learning management systems. Once the content is created in Kariki Studio, students that are connected to the internet can access the education content. Kariki, however, can also publish to LearningSpots, and thus be able to provide an online education experience to students living anywhere in the world that are not connected to the internet. Nuvo has integrated their technology with Kariki and a company out of France called Quadrille, and in doing so, the content that is created by Kariki Studio can be published, managed, and delivered over satellite to LearningSpots. Quadrille is a software company. I met them many, many years ago when I was doing a project for internet via satellite in the Middle East, in 38 countries out of Asia. And what they do is they deliver content today to tens of millions of boxes, hundreds of millions of movies every day over satellite and for entertainment. So we did with them as I approached them from my background, and I said, we'd like to partner with you because we need to get education content reliably delivered to LearningSpots. Finally, but certainly not least, we have selected to work with Eutelsat, the third largest satellite operator in the world, because they have 2 satellites serving 3 continents. We not only can deliver content, but we can also get return bandwidth so that we can get the information about what the kids are doing, how they're going, progressing, the quizzes they take, all the interactivity piece. So Eutelsat gives us amazing coverage, but we can work with any other partner that's a satellite operator as well. Beyond these partners, we have already started to work with people like Freedom Totani, who introduced us to a partner also in Zimbabwe called Learning Factory. And the first demo we're going to be doing is Learning Factory content on Kariki Studio on a learning spot in Zimbabwe. So this means that we can work with the Ministry of Education, which the content has already been approved for, and be able to accelerate the work we can do there in that country. The shared mission that is at the core of LearningSpots is to enable online education to remote parts of the world where connections to the internet are non-existent, inadequate, or unaffordable. So the 4 pillars of LearningSpots are creating the content, delivering the content, receiving, storing, and serving the content, and ultimately providing access to the children or the students in their remote locations. So how does it work? Kuriki, we can create, educators, like I said, can create once and publish to LearningSpots. Once the content is published to LearningSpots, the Nuvo content management system that's been integrated for both Quadrille and with Kuriki takes it, prepares it, and then sends it off to the teleport, the satellite uplink, so that it can be delivered through the satellites to hardware. It's connected to a small satellite dish. That is the actual size of the hardware. It's about a couple of bread loaves. This single piece of equipment allows us to receive the content, store it. Up to 8 terabytes of content can be stored. 3,006 hours of video at 1 megabit per second, by the way, can fit on 1 terabyte. That's a lot of content sitting anywhere in the world. It can also serve it. It's got APIs, which Kuriki used to create the app that allows the child to engage and interact, but they're open APIs. And that was part of my criteria. Whoever we work with needed to be open as well. And ultimately, it creates a Wi-Fi hotspot. We can do up to 300 megabits per second. Our estimates are 200 kids simultaneously connected at any given time at one LearningSpots. We need more bandwidth, we put more hardware. We don't need to run another fiber, run another network, or anything like that. So that is really the innovation here, is that kids using Wi-Fi locally have an online interactive experience without actually being online. For the information, like I said earlier, such as how they did on quizzes, how they're interacting, and things like that, we use the satellite to be able to return. And for that, Eutelsat provides 2 solutions, IoT first and Connect. So on both satellites, on 3 continents, we can be completely autonomous, be anywhere, and serve kids in that environment. So even though we have identified partnerships in different parts of the world, especially in the Americas, within the Americas and sub-Saharan region, let's look at Zimbabwe. And the numbers that you see on here are sometimes just jaw-dropping. The situation of the digital divide is really, truly desperate. But with us together, we can help these kids living in remote areas, 2.9 of them that don't even have access to schools. 4.8 kids even nationally have very limited or no access to schools. 2.4 million in remote areas have no access to the internet. We can go on and on. Even the fact that a lot of these kids don't have power as we know it is just crazy to me. So as a whole, and I'm waiting for sorry. So we did is we mapped out what it would look like to deploy the country of Zimbabwe, and this can be done anywhere within the 2 satellites. A $3 million budget helps us get, within 6 to 8 months, we can deploy 50 communities, 10,000 kids can be online, being educated. $300 a child, that includes a full-blown computer with that hardware. That includes all the operational expenses we need to get up and running. And at $17.50 per month per student, we can be self-sustaining. If we have more money or more donors, we can give this away for free. But $17.50 per month, per student, somebody would donate that, we can educate a child anywhere in the world. And if we collect the $17.50 per month per student, we can grow the 50 villages to 372 villages and grow 10,000 students to 75,000 students in less than 5 years. That's with one small $3 million budget. So there are funds in the world that we're looking at, like the Impact Fund. If you haven't been there, you're doing stuff internationally, it's the IMPPPACT.org. They have money available for projects like this globally through the EU. So there is money available for education, but let's make the impact, let's use the money wisely, is what I would say. Money's always been available. You've been an entrepreneur, you've been in .com. I've seen money people go through hundreds of millions of dollars and run everything on a QuickBooks and go bankrupt 2 years later. So it's not about always the money. It's about how do you really properly use the money to make an impact. So let's make an impact. LearningSpots can deliver an internet-like experience to a child that does live anywhere, that doesn't have power, that doesn't have access to the internet, doesn't have access to a nearby school, and is financially challenged. So if you're in this room and you're a technologist, an ed tech provider, a department of education, a grant writer, a philanthropist, or an investor, we'd love to talk to you, and together we can make an impact in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our final innovation showcase will be featuring SkillUp. Take it away.
Right, back and clean up. Thank you all for staying here through the bitter end. My name is Beth Davis, and I am here representing SkillUp. This morning you heard quite a bit from Ryan at the Charles Koch Foundation talking about our organization, and we are a new national nonprofit dedicated to reskilling America's most vulnerable workers for in-demand careers. Since you've heard a lot about our organization, I'm here to tell you about why we do what we do. These are two workers who represent the vast majority of workers who can use help from organizations like SkillUp. We've got Brianna Griffin, who, when she graduated high school, went directly to college. She was pursuing a degree in IT, but her mother got sick, so she wasn't able to complete. At 19 years old, she was a college dropout pursuing a series of unrewarding, low-paying jobs, the last of which, she was a janitor at a K-12 school when the pandemic hit. She got laid off from her janitor job, needed to find work, and took a new job as a janitor in a hospital in the middle of COVID. And you ask Brianna what that was like, and she says, it was something. It was then that she realized that she wanted to reinvest in herself, and through SkillUp was able to find SkillUp, a short-term, no-cost, skills-based training program where she pursued her degree in IT help desk. She graduated on the 21st and got a job on the 22nd, working in an IT help desk at a hospital where she was leveraging the strengths that she had with her before she took the training. Now, Samaya's story is different. Samaya grew up in New York City. She was an immigrant, a child of immigrant parents, and she has a degree. She went to CUNY. She changed her major 3 times. She thought she wanted to be a science major. She thought she wanted to be a nurse, but the courses were too difficult. When finally her advisor called her into the office and said, if you want to graduate on time, let's roll up all these credits and your Pell status, which is now expiring, and give you a degree in liberal arts studies from CUNY. 19 years old in New York City, she has an AA in liberal arts and is completely unemployable. So Samaya found SkillUp and identified her own strengths through our survey for IT. Found a different program. Samaya knows herself pretty well and selected Merit America as her training provider. They also offer low-cost, short-term skills-based training, but they do so with an ISA, or a payback program, where workers pay back the cost of the tuition after they graduate and are placed. And you know why she did that? She said if it were free, she'd drop out. She needed some skin in the game. There are tens of millions of workers like this across the US who either lack a college degree or have one that is not serving their career purposes, who need the skills that SkillUp can help them identify. So how do we do it? First and foremost, we have to find the workers. It is our obligation to make sure that workers know that these resources exist. So SkillUp goes after finding workers the same way that Zappos tries to find you and sell you those sneakers that you're looking at. It's through Facebook, it's through advertisements, it's through Instagram and TikTok. And we've been able to attract more than 700,000 workers to our platform. When they arrive, they're greeted with a very, very brief set of career navigation tools. Give me your zip code, tell me what you'd like to do and what your last job was. And we use that to identify in-demand careers in your region. More often than not, there's a gap between the career that you want and your skills base. And that's where our curated catalog of short-term skills-based training programs show up. We have vetted more than 600 programs across the US from a sea of tens of thousands of unregulated training providers. How do you know what's good? Well, SkillUp has taken a lot of time to figure that out. So you found your career, you found your skill gap, then we make sure that we have programs that are less than 12 months in length, that generally cost less than $5,000 to take. More often than not, they can be no cost. And these are programs that have passed our quality screening. The best of the best programs are the programs that we have vetted for our scholarship funds, because we recognize that even a free program comes with financial barriers, because life happens. You have to get there. You have to buy books. And so in order to reduce the financial barriers, we offer scholarships of up to $1,000 per program, per worker, to participate in this training. And our training providers have found that completion among scholarship students are increased anywhere from 7 to 12%. And those are just for the ones who are measuring it out of the gate. None of this matters, though, unless there's a national network of employers who are willing to accept these workers who have the skills gathered through programs like the ones that we've identified. I look around this room, I look in the mirror, I look at the people who hired me at SkillUp, and one of the biggest challenges is very few of us have much in common with the workers that we seek to serve. I don't look anything like Brianna, I didn't live her life. And so at SkillUp, one of the things that we take very seriously is the worker voice and making sure that we are engaging with the audience that we seek to serve every day, asking them questions, finding out how they're doing, and testing our offer against the things that they really need. We do this in two material ways, but it's throughout our organization. The first is our Career Advisory Board. This is a group of workers who we interact with weekly. We give them copy and tell us to, are we getting the words right? We ask them about benefits that will be available, that are of interest to them. And the second is our longitudinal research that we do through surveys. How are you doing? How's training going? Have you gotten a job? Have you moved? And through those two pieces of data, we're trying to improve the services that we offer. But it's hard. Only 5% of the workers who come to our platform actually make it into a new job or a training program, because it's a journey. Life is complicated. And people need to figure out where they are and solve all of the challenges that are facing them before they make that next step. Not only is it hard, it's hard to count. So we were asked when we came here to think about how we can collaborate and what are the challenges that we're trying to solve. Well, at SkillUp, one of the things that we're trying to solve for is shared metrics and data infrastructure. How do we know what's happening with workers from Instagram ad to first paycheck? We can track it internally. We have all of our web analytics. We know what's happening when someone gets a job off of our website. If they participated in our scholarship fund, we get really rich data. What was their pre-program job income? What did they earn when they graduate? Do they have any children at home? But that data gets thinner and thinner the less connection you have with your worker. And so ultimately what we're looking to do is work with partners on metrics and indicators of success. So we do this by developing data standards through partners like Jobs for the Future and ECROS, which is now part of JFF. And so we've done this locally, but we believe that there's an opportunity to work across training providers, not just the people in our platform, but people who will then support the workers when they go on to their career and their future education. And I mentioned that workers tell us what they're interested in. We talk to them on a regular basis and we say, what does a training program mean to you and what kinds of jobs are you looking for? And what we've heard from our workers is that it's a journey for them. In their career, they're going to go in and out of learning experiences, job experiences, and when we hear from workers, this was a big shocker, they said, we want stackable credentials. Before I take that IT program, I want to make sure it's going to be recognized by my community college, that I'm not wasting my time and money getting the job that I need this year when I already have college debt and non-completion. So they're looking for the opportunity to build their own success and to keep track of all of it. And so that's where SkillUp is really trying to find creative ways to be an action lab to figure this out. And so one of the things that we're looking to do now with the support of Strata and partnering with Kale is finding ways to meet people when they're coming out of the military, when they're going into their training programs, and tracking them through their jobs, through their training, and putting all that information into the learner's hands, giving them a comprehensive education and learning record through something like an LER. So these last two projects are examples of places where many of you in the room, the ones that I haven't met and some of you that I have, are working in these areas. And so I invite you, if you have tools, to help us keep track of if we're doing the right thing and to help workers connect with their own success. Please become one of the growing number of partners with whom SkillUp works. We launched in the middle of the pandemic with very little experience, but 60 giants with whom we were standing on their shoulders. And I'm hoping to leave here today. Some of you might be on this list, and if you're not, maybe next time we see each other, you will be. Thank you.
That's a wrap for our Innovation Showcase. Let's give a round of applause to all the presenters throughout the day. Really nice job. Well, thanks for hanging in there, everybody. It's been a wonderful day. My final act as MC will be turning it over to our last two speakers. So Abby Ross, the CEO of Kuriki, will be speaking with Freedom Chetney, who is the editor-in-chief of the Superintendent's Journal. Again, it's been a pleasure spending time with you today, and I'll turn it over to them to offer you closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, an incredible job by Jacqueline. Thank you for bringing us through the day, keeping us on track, and having just the best energy to keep us going. I also need to say a couple other thank yous to folks at ASU. So we had some fantastic facilitators, Danielle, Carrie, Annie, and Yukai, for also throughout those working sessions. It can be a daunting task, just